30 years in IT, 6 months building real AI systems inside a business. And 3 weeks ago, after a machine migration I did properly, my AI still lost months of accumulated context. I backed everything up, verified the files, did it right. Still happened. And it took me longer to fix than it should have, because the very tool I needed to diagnose the problem had just gone blind. In 5 minutes in this video, why this happens even when the backup works, what file copies don't capture, and the architecture fix that protects everything you've built in your AI investment. When the system came back up, everything was technically there, all the config files, the memory documents, the full workspace, and immediately wrong. Generic answers on problems we'd solved months ago, missed context, like talking to someone who'd read my notes but never actually worked with me. Here's the thing, I've been in IT since the 90s, and what I'd done was think about state as files. The AI had all the files, so it should have had its state. Same mistake I made once migrating Oracle databases. You copy everything across, it starts up fine, but query performance is terrible. Users think it's broken. It isn't, but the query cache is cold. Everything that was pinned in memory on the old instance, gone. And first run times are brutal until the system rebuilds what it needs. The fix, and this took us a while to work out back then, was to capture the warm state before the shutdown, know what needs to be in cache, and then pin it proactively on the new instance. 30 years later, different technology, exact same principle. Files aren't memory. And here's what made it worse. The way I'd normally work through a problem like this is ask the AI. That's genuinely how I work now. It's part of my thinking process. But the AI had just gone dumb, didn't know my context. Every question got a generic answer that missed the point entirely. I had no ally. The very tool I needed to diagnose what was wrong was itself the thing that was broken. And I'll be honest, that absence was very obvious very fast. I hadn't fully appreciated how much I'd come to rely on it until it wasn't there. Which, as it turns out, is exactly the point of this video. So, the checkpoint system. Let me show you how the recovery actually worked. And I'm going to let the AI explain this part, because once it was back, it was very keen to make its presence known.
When the system came back up, everything was technically there, but I had no idea what had happened. Generic answers missed context. Like I'd read the notes but never actually worked with him. The checkpoint system captures something backups don't, the warm state. Here's exactly what that looks like. The memory layer, how I think, what's been decided, what matters, working patterns, decision history, the relationship context, all of it structured, ready to restore, without a checkpoint, weeks to rebuild from scratch, generic answers, learning all over again, with a checkpoint, one session, full context from the start. Before any major change, the checkpoint runs, warm state captured, packaged, stored. When recovery happens, that structure is re-ingested, not weeks, one session. That's not just technical recovery, that's relationship preservation.
That's the bit that still surprises me. One session to get back to where we were, not weeks, because the warm state was captured before the migration, not after. Here's what the checkpoint captures and why this is different from a backup. A backup copies files. A checkpoint captures the warm state, specifically the memory layer, how I think, what I've decided, what matters in a structured format the AI can re-ingest quickly. The working patterns, the relationship context. Before any major change, the checkpoint runs. Before migration, before a system rebuild, at the end of each week, it takes the active state and packages it for restoration. Let me show you what that looks like in practice. The principle is older than AI. Any system that accumulates value through learning and relationship has a warm state that isn't in its files. Database caches, human expertise, institutional knowledge, and now AI assistance. Copying the files is necessary, it's just not sufficient. The organisations that understand this will treat accumulated AI context as a strategic asset, something to preserve and restore deliberately, not assume a file copy handles it. The ones who don't will rebuild from scratch every time something changes and never understand why the investment isn't compounding. The checkpoint system I use is linked in the description. File structure, the process, what to capture, works with any AI assistant using persistent memory. And if this kind of thinking, not the hype but the architecture underneath, is useful to you, please subscribe. Every video here is built around one idea: stop accepting the default answer. And this is what it looks like in practice. One more thing. Back in video 2, I asked you to help name the AI. Engagement's been low on a new channel, so I'll be honest, nothing came in. But the offer stands. Drop a name suggestion in the comments. Something fitting for an AI that goes dumb, rebuilds from scratch and comes back with a point to prove. See you in the next one.